Watch Chris Hemsworth here, here, and here. Do you notice all the moves he just pulled? He's combining so many different techniques so quickly, it's hard to fully understand what's happening without rewatching in slow motion. This is the first movie I've seen where the main character has this much variety in their fight choreography. Throughout this movie, Extraction, there's so many aspects that are revolutionary to the action movie genre, specifically the first two fight scenes. But the main part that stuck out to me is how every time someone comes up against Chris Hemsworth, they are beat or killed in a way the movie hasn't shown before, every time. And my favorite part that I'll delve into is that a lot of the moves performed in this movie can be used in real life self-defense, from simple stuff like this to advanced techniques like this. This is because the choreography is directed by a very well-known Hollywood stuntman who's trained in all sorts of martial arts that he expresses through this movie and many other movies he's worked on. Now, because of the immense knowledge on fighting techniques put into this movie, it's a little hard to pinpoint exactly what main techniques Chris uses to win every fight. But luckily, there are some core elements that contribute to his own unique style, rather than complying to a specific martial art or known practices. Specifically, his style can be categorized into combat using knives, guns, and just his hands. The first fight scene starts right here, and you can tell Chris Hemsworth already looks warmed up because he's moving with crazy speed and efficiency. The only reason he's here killing all these dudes is because he was hired to rescue this kid. This kid, OV, is the son of an Indian drug lord, and he got kidnapped by this dude, another drug lord. Chris Hemsworth is a black market mercenary, hired to extract individuals from these dangerous kidnapping situations. That's why it's called Extraction. In this situation, he's been taken into this room of guys to see that the boy is alive, so he can pay a ransom and they'll hand him over. Of course, Hemsworth doesn't actually plan to pay them, so once he's got his proof, he's being escorted to let his team know. But like I said, he's not paying a ransom, so he's gonna just kill everyone and take the kid instead. That's how we got here, where he nicely knocks on the door, and you may not believe me on this, but he actually whispers to himself behind the door, "It's time to extract." He shoots too whilst using his AK-47 to block a machete, shoot the guy, then block a gun. The first pillar of Chris's gun usage is he uses his gun to block other weapons. It's very interesting how he parries the other weapons with his own. Chris dodges a machete, blocks it with a gun, and kicks the guy. Remember his kick, it'll come up in a second. He dodges again, and this is a pillar in his hand-to-hand combat, or essentially just general skill he has, but he has crazy reaction time. He's super quick and reflexive. He dodges incoming attacks like crazy. The camera work with these dodges also adds to it so much. This movie's like eye candy. Then, watch this. BAM! His kicks are insane. That's another pillar he's got. He's got a rip-in boot. Something super interesting is he kicks with his shin. And it may surprise you, but shin kicks produce more force than kicks with a foot. This is why people who train Muay Thai do shin conditioning.
Mel's kick landed with over 790 pounds of force.
So clearly being able to kick with your shins is pretty powerful.
And he snapped a bat like a twig.
Having strong legs is also just super valuable for self-defense in general. He locks this guy's arm against the wall, kicks this dude again, and slams this guy on the ground. These kind of slams are the ones that end fights right here. It's what judo's all about. Just these crazy throws that are super painful. Chris dodges 3 machete swings and uses a mug to knock this guy out. That's a good use of his environment. Next dude's getting up and Chris kicks the table into his face. Ouch. That's another good use of his environment, and you know, he's showing his strong legs again, which just wait is gonna get even crazier and arguably dumber. Chris takes a punch. This is the first time a blow has been landed on him. Despite him totally crushing it and obliterating everyone up until this point, it still seems like a struggle. This is why I like these action scenes so much. It could be the camera work. Actually, no, definitely a huge part of it is. But these scenes still hold that fear and tension. It's not like watching flawless protagonists that win everything. The next punch gets blocked at the bicep, which is good. When you're blocking a punch, you want to close the distance, so you're not blocking the punch at end range where it has more power and is harder to control. Just something to think about. Now that kick strength from before seems to just be ramping up in intensity. Now that was realistic. Who's with me? I think this is Chris Hemsworth post-juicing. Then Chris gets into a rear naked chokehold. Now, Chris gets out of this by hitting him in the leg or the nuts to loosen the guy's grip, then bends his arm into a classic behind the back police arm lock. I love joint locks. Aikido's great if you use it right, and there's a couple times like this where Chris effectively uses it. Then, here's what Chris does. Yeesh. This is a dummy, you can tell just by how it flops. But Chris's character understands balance and momentum. That's another pillar. His slams. The ability to know when to shift your weight to do some crazy judo throws, like what's about to happen. The next guy comes in with a gun, and Chris grabs the slide of the gun as it fires, which is mad dangerous. If you're holding the slide of a gun while it fires, it can cause burns, cuts, injuries, all that kind of stuff. Not that this isn't what he should have done. You know, the gun is literally pointing at him. The other option is to just get shot, but I just wanted to comment on it. Then Chris pushes up with his left hand and pulls down with his right to create a leverage point in the arm. This now gives him all the power by anchoring the limb to throw him down. This big guy is not recovering from a throw like that, and well, definitely not from the pull of a rake in his throat. Next guy kind of just throws himself on Chris, and they grapple around on the floor. Chris uses his jujitsu or wrestling skills to get back on top, roll over, and spike this guy's head through the rake. His character's name is Tyler Rake, by the way, and he kills 2 people with a rake. Before he takes the kid and begins all kinds of extracting, there's one last foe that tries to kill him, but the gun ain't working. Chris tells him to bugger off, and us in the audience have our hearts full. Aw, he doesn't kill kids. So he grabs the kid, then re-kidnaps him, and he begins extracting.
Proceeding to extraction.
Except when they're about to get him out, it goes haywire as his comrades get killed, and this guy tries to intervene. For context, he's trying to save OV2, but it's a whole thing. Just watch the movie if you care. Since Chris is being ambushed, they go back to the car and start a car chase. I didn't include it in his fighting style, but he's also a pretty sick driver. You can see as the patterns are emerging just from the beginning of this movie that he's not only a jack of all trades, he's pretty much a master of all trades. He gets to a point of being blocked in front by cops and blocked behind by this dude. Since the main plan for extraction blew up and he's cornered, he has one option.
I'm in survival mode.
Survival mode. All bets are off. It's time for Chris Hemsworth to take it into his own hands.
Put your belt on.
What belt?
Fucking seatbelt.
It's been on. You drive like you're insane.
We follow police officers after Chris went up in the building. This officer walks by them, and Chris attacks both hands first before going for the throat. Why would he do this? This is exactly what Shaw was doing in Man from Nowhere. He's slicing the muscles and tendons in his arm so they can't grip anymore. It renders this guy completely useless to grab his weapons or Chris. This could also be known as defanging the snake in martial arts. Given the fact that he wants to stay silent too, using a knife to stop this guy from pulling the trigger before slicing his throat is genius. The knife he uses is a karambit, which is going to be shown more in a little bit. Chris pulls OV out and he sneaks up to the corner. Alright, yeah, what just happened? That was literal art, just a beautiful display of action. Here's what he did. He grabbed the gun and reached his hand under and up into this guy's face. He ducked down to the left and fully wraps his arm around the gun, basically using this officer as a shield. He then pulls the AK-47, holding this guy in place, comes down on this guy's hand, then parries the gun hand away with the AK-47. He then uses that parry to put his armpit over the gun hand, and now holds both of these dudes' arms outstretched and held at an X cross section. They aren't going to let go of their weapon.
Without the gun, he's nothing. So in his mind, he will never want to let go of this gun.
And since they're outstretched, they have much less limb strength. This pose is awesome. Him in control of 2 dudes by just using their weapons. He uses this X to shoot this guy's knee, then wrap that hand around again to maintain that control and kill the next officer incoming. He then flings them out because he's basically tied all 3 of them together in a knot. There's so much to talk about in just those 5 seconds. First off is the control he gains over these people by using their weapons. He does this essentially through leverage and joint locks. When someone has a weapon, they usually don't want to let go of it. So when you're able to get control of the weapon, you can get control of their fingers, their wrist, their arm, and if done really well, their whole body. Because you can twist it in a way where even if they want to let go, they have no strength to. See these 2 examples. Their wrists are twisted into joint locks. It's painful and muscle cannot overcome it. Muscle also rarely overcomes outstretched limbs. These guys are pulled off balance and their arms are pulled way out, so he has leverage and strength on them. Thus, they are in his complete control. Pretty awesome. Obviously, there's a million different ways these officers could have gotten out of this. It's still a movie. It's not super realistic, but the theory is there. The scene breaks away while the kid gets chased, but Chris takes care of it before 4 more dudes try to kill him. He kills 2 with great aim, and he fights with 2 more, using his gun in close quarters combat. If you saw my John Wick video, you may know what I'm about to say. Chris uses the movie-specific martial art of Gun Fu. You can watch my John Wick video for more explanation on Gun Fu, but essentially, close quarters combat plus guns, and a dash of really cool action scenes is gun fu. So while he's shooting and fighting and gun fuing, he either runs out of ammo or his gun jams. Regardless of what it is, he uses that opportunity to hit him with the throat chop with the gun. Dude, that would have 100% taken this dude out. That would have done so much damage. And the reason I said his gun's either out of ammo or jammed is because he does this. There's no way that's a reload. I refuse to believe the movie wants me to think he reloaded here. Pretty dang sick though. He then throws this dude off a balcony and runs to the roof.
Kid, you trust me?
No. No.
They stroll around for a bit until they run into this guy from before. First thing Chris does is disarms him, and he does it mad quick. I really like how he did it. He twisted it over his own gun hand and yanked it out. If his finger was on the trigger, which it was, he just fired the gun, then this would have 100% broken his finger. Then control over the main weapon switches from this guy to Chris back to this guy. How this happens is he's holding Chris's gun, then pulls out his own, and then he's back on the offensive. When it's muscle to muscle like this, like I mentioned in the Accountant 2 video, use other body parts to inflict damage, like the legs or a headbutt. Ah, nice. Clearly they watch my videos. Chris elbows him after more struggling and decides flying off the roof is a good idea. They slowly recover, and Chris tries to grab the gun, but this guy comes at him with a knife instead. They get held right here. If anyone watching has ever grappled or wrestled with anyone before, and it lasts longer than like 30 seconds, you know that feeling when you both are exhausted and basically take a 5-second rest while holding each other in a standstill like this. Even though this guy's on the offensive, they both feel completely toasted, so they sit here for a second catching their breath. This moment is the most relatable part I've seen this whole movie. Chris knees him and punches him twice, and very sneakily whips out the karambit. He basically uses his knife defensively, being more reactionary to this guy's attacks than attacking himself. And when defending from the other guy's knife, he defends like a boxer. Usually education on knife technique is to quarter and flank, but Chris defends linearly and parries these slashes as if they're punches. It's like attack, reset, linear. Then Chris catches the arm, similarly how Chaw did in Man from Nowhere, tries to stab, then swipes the karambit down his arm and disarms the knife. This totally should have cut his arm here, but whatever. Then Chris 3-pieces this guy, only punches and kicks, never using the knife, and then yay, he won! Ah, dang it. Unlucky. So have you noticed how many different martial arts I've mentioned in this video? So far, I've noticed Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, Aikido, Muay Thai, boxing, gun fu if you want to include that, and technically Krav Maga, but that goes for a lot of movies I analyze. Unless it's The Matrix or a Jason Statham movie, if the action has no nonsense type of self-defense, then it uses Krav Maga. But yeah, Judo slams, Jiu-Jitsu grappling, Aikido joint locks, Muay Thai kicking, elbowing, etc., boxing punches and parries, and probably a bunch more. This is the part where I sit you down and drop some of what should be common knowledge. And you're like, dude, come on! I just want to watch Chris Hemsworth beat on little kids.
That's awful.
But this is important to know, because if you've ever heard someone say, Jiu-Jitsu doesn't work on the street, or Aikido is useless, this boxes someone into the mindset that you choose a martial art and that's what you have to do. I'll say this right now, none of the major martial arts that exist are useless. None of them. Every single martial art is perfect when used in the right scenario. Situational moments call for situational actions. So where am I going with this? Chris Hemsworth's character in this movie is very well rounded. He's masterfully skilled in so many martial arts, so he's able to use all kinds of techniques he's mastered to know what to do in every encounter ever. Each situation he runs into demands a different approach to his defense. For example, in real life, say you're a bartender and someone's getting rowdy and you need to kick them out. There's an incident where I had some guy in the club, he's a bit of a lad, he's a bit of a geezer. When trying to calm them down, "Boy, geezer, calm down, geezer," you smoothly rotate their arm and lock it up, and walk them out of the bar.
Chuck him away. Later, geezer.
That's Aikido. Now imagine you're outside the bar and he wants to get violent. When he runs at you, do you think it's best to try to grab his flailing arm and perform a wrist lock, or go to the ground and put him in an arm bar? No! You punch him, you kick him, you use his forward momentum to throw him so he slams on the concrete and can't get up. You were able to do this because you learned from all martial arts instead of just one. And because you know all of them, you have complete and total awareness. Like I said in The Accountant 2, life becomes the Lego movie.
I can see everything.
Humor me for a second. Imagine Chris Hemsworth's character, Tyler Rake, was real. Do you think he would get into a fight and think, okay, do I use Muay Thai or Judo here? No, he would just do. Literally, just do. He sees hundreds of opportunities or ways to take someone down in an altercation because he's so knowledgeable and well trained in everything. That's why he basically has his own martial art where he uses boxing, aikido, and judo all in the same move. So the main lesson would be don't box yourself in and never stop learning, because each new thing you learn from, whichever martial art it may be, increases your situational awareness and ability to defend yourself holistically. The best way to start with this is to know what moves the needle most in fights, meaning everything I talk about on this channel. Chris's fighting style is semi-reflective of something like that, for hand-to-hand at least. Quick reflexes I don't even need to explain, you should know how important that is. Strong legs and the ability to kick hard with good flexibility, I mean just look at random bald guy, you know, is super important. And being able to throw someone and slam them on concrete, dude, there's no shot someone can recover from that. That's a huge skill. I like how the fighting in this movie is so insane, but the director, who was originally just a stuntman, was able to craft a beautiful story with amazing writing, visuals, and storytelling. The progression of Chris being this cold mercenary, treating Ovi like a package, to growing to care for him by the end, it was executed perfectly. The music too, with the it's kind of like my background music in my videos. The first fight scene actually had hilarious sound effects for each person that Chris took down. And the camera work in all of these fights, like when the camera goes sideways, it's innovative, it's awesome. Especially with the second fight scene lasting for 12 minutes and having no cuts, just crazy. No, my actual favorite part is at the very end when Chris looks at the kid and says, "Consider yourself extracted." Anyway, incredible movie. I was only able to review 2 fight scenes, but the rest are actually amazing. Love the fighting kids scene, and don't even get me started on the second movie. Also exceptional. I'll revisit it at some point in the future. So yeah, incredible movie, new video soon. Peace.